let's delve right into this Niners game here, shall we? 49ers under the Sunday night lights, and wasn't quite the result Niner fans had hoped for or expected from a team in the NFC East that was looking for its first win, had a tie. All right, had that go. What is about that division and the ties lately?
Yeah, I don't know.
They constantly rack them up. So, Niners under the Sunday night lights, they dropped this game to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they are 2-2 now this season. They did make it a game late, 5-point game, and ends up being 25-20. In this game, let's delve right into the breakdown. Let's talk about how we got here. Carson Wentz got nimble early on a read option, finished off a drive with a rushing touchdown at this stage.
Yeah, he actually looked, a lot better in the pocket. And going into this week, I mean, a lot of these Eagles were playing for their jobs.
Yeah.
Playing for their coaches' jobs. Like, they were in the hot seat because, this team was in the Super Bowl not that long ago.
Yeah.
And they were looking at an 0-4 start if they dropped yesterday. So this team came out hungry. Their play design in the first quarter, I think, was fantastic.
Yeah.
They were able to jump out. Going for 2 on that first touchdown, you mentioned Wentz going around with the quarterback sneak.
Mm-hmm.
Going for 2, I was like, kind of a head scratcher.
Right.
But, in the end, it gave him momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think the logic behind that was to give your team something early, and they put up an extra point.
Yeah.
So that kind of gave them some momentum, and it was kind of a kick to the Niners, I think. So it was a little, play on the thought process, I think, going in. You look up on that scoreboard, and 8 looks better than 7.
Sure. Yeah. Your thoughts on that, Chris? They go for 2. They hit it in the flat for this early 8-0 lead.
Yeah, that was a good start for them. Good aggressive start, and Wentz, I think, just pounding it in on the read option. The DN, I forgot who it was, but he
bit
swarmed.
bad.
Yeah, he swarmed in through the middle, and that left a wide open gap for Wentz. But that was a good aggressive start for Peterson and the Eagles, because that's exactly what they need. 0-2 and the tie.
Yeah,
and
2-1
after that tie, there was a lot of ridicule on him and the Eagles, and that division just weak.
Yeah,
flat out, it is the weakest division in the NFL. And they wanted to create a spark, and with their kicking struggles too, that's also a reason why.
So the Niners at least answer. Good drive, including a reverse to Deebo Samuel with Nick Mullins throwing a block, and then a screen to Ayuk that, yes, is well blocked, but it's the electric Ayuk that makes this a touchdown.
Yeah, actually, I think he actually pulled that on a jet sweep handoff. And as he was heading towards the goal line, that's the one where he jumped. The 38
It's
yards
a jump.
away.
It is a screen, but it was backwards.
Well,
so it goes as a run.
Okay, there you go. It was, a toss back. But what an athletic jump by Ayuk. Anybody out there that watched him in college, this is nothing new. He did this quite often. In fact, I tweeted out this practice video of a drill at the 1-yard line where the running back takes it and the linebacker charges. And he just jumped clearly right over the guy.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic, it's kind of grainy video, but it's fantastic to see
From a
that kind of
practice, yeah. But it's like maybe he took 1-2 steps. Like, I'd have to get a good running leap up into that thing, But it's like when this was like when Seabass could kick a 58-yarder and he only needed 2 steps compared to all the kickers.
Yeah.
This is all Ayuk needed, one bump.
Yeah, and it was clearly awesome to see that kind of athleticism out of your young receiver.
Yeah. So Niners don't get drawn into the conversion game yet. They kick the extra point, and it's an 8-7 ball game at this stage. Mullins would hit Kittle down the right side with 4:20 to go in the half, and the Niners were knocking on the door again. But an ill-advised throw from Mullins while backpedaling from pressure led to the first INT of the season for the Eagles defense.
Yeah, that was just one of those. I came out yesterday. We've heard the term Jimmy O no throw from the folks over at 95.7. Bonte Hill kind of came up with that last season.
Okay.
Because Jimmy will have that kind of oh no throw. Always happens in the first half. But so I kind of came up with the Chris Mulligan, or Nick Mulligan rather. Nick Mulligan. I always get Chris Mullins. Gosh, I miss my words.
God bless him.
The Nick Mulligan, because Nick has throws he wants back because he's not on the money as much as people thought he is coming into this game, and he showed it again this game because his numbers actually they don't look bad. Really, if you're looking at it as like a whole game, he did throw for 200 yards. That's all yak yardage.
Yeah, there
he's
was a lot
dink and dunking, and that throw in particular on that interception was just throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw
Take
it away.
the sack, turn, and drop if you have to at that point. So, ill-advised throw, INT. Eagles quarterbacks were their running was kind of their offense for a while in the first half, as Jalen Hurts would come in at times in this game. They wouldn't do anything with that turnover though, when it's 8-7 at the half.
I mean, what is it with these Z-ending names? Hurts, Wirtz, Wentz.
That's all they want.
That's all they want is that last letter. And I mean, the Niner defense was getting shredded. And of course, I'm not going to blame it on injuries, but this team has been struggling with injuries. I mean, you look at your corner play, your front line, and it showed yesterday that this defense against it's a competent offense. They've been struggling, they have their struggles, but it is a competent offense. And you can't put anything really past Carson Wentz. He's got the experience, he's tough, he'll do anything to win a game, and we saw that yesterday.
8-7 at this half. Your thoughts on what we had seen at that point, Chris?
Two teams that obviously the Niners are dealing with the injuries. They couldn't quite get anything going on the offensive side other than that touchdown. And the Eagles, they're just playing Eagles football at that point, man. I mean, this is literally the best the Eagles can do. I really think so.
Okay.
I know. I 100% think so. I mean, this team is struggling. They tying against the Browns, the two early losses in the season too.
Yeah.
Wentz. Granted, he's thrown, the stat line, I don't know if you guys saw that last night with the wide receivers. 10 different wide receivers with 50 or more catches.
They had the whack-a-mole graphics for that. It was pretty funny.
Ridiculous. I mean, so when you're a big name like Wentz, franchise quarterback or supposed to be, you're supposed to put up these big flashy numbers, lead them to the Super Bowl, lead them to the playoffs every year. But when you don't get the assistance from your coaches and putting you in position to win, how do you expect him to be that guy for you?
Yeah.
You can't surround him with guys from the practice squad like last night. Granted, he was the one that gave them that big touchdown late in the game, but from Fulgham. But when you have guys like that consistently, and you can't rely on you can't build a rapport with those guys.
Yeah.
You can't, and it just leaves Wentz flustered and not on the same page with his receivers, and it shows every week.
When I say competent offense, I don't mean like anywhere near good. They're just able to actually throw and catch the ball. And their O-line actually looked good against that defensive line yesterday.
Yeah. So second half, Niners get a real nice 75-yard drive, mixing the pass and run to get going here in this third. Kittle again getting them downfield, and this time gets in the end zone. He scores. It's 14-8 Niners. Great to have that guy back.
Man, Kittle balled out yesterday, and if it wasn't for Kittle, this game would have been nowhere near close. I mean, 15 catches by a tight end is a San Francisco record.
Man.
He went for 183 yards in that one touchdown there in the third. My only knock on him, that two-point conversion hit him in the hands, that low two-point conversion. But technically, that's on the QB to run that end around because there was nobody on that side of the field.
Yeah.
He could have pump faked.
Into that. Yeah, we'll go to that play later, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. So at least, though, 14-8, Niners are up at this point. Eagles get a field goal and are down 3 to start the fourth. The math on that early two-point conversion works now if you're within a field goal as you start the fourth, because that's the old rule, is you really don't mess with that till the fourth quarter, till that math starts to happen. Eagles, like you said, you guys had a couple good theories on it of why they maybe went with that early. It's a new way of thinking, too, and aggressive. We see a lot of colleges
A little analytical.
and high schools that just don't even kick anymore. They're just they're just going for the two. So here is that math coming into play here that works. A smart call I wanted to point out by the Niners later in this game. It's about 11 minutes to go in it. We're in the fourth quarter now. Niners had a DB that got hurt, their slot guy. And the DB who comes in, number 47, rather than leave him out there to get picked on in coverage, they blitz him. He gets the sack, and it works.
Oh, it was fantastic play call right there because they were lining up, and that's exactly where Wentz wanted to go.
Yeah, because they did a corner route.
They did a corner route, and he that DB, I forget, was it Jones? I'm blanking on who it was.
Pull that up.
I mean, he was a practice squad guy, so I have no clue.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did a great job on picking up that and really just getting upfield to Wentz really fast. So it was a great design play by Saleh.
Then, with just under 6 minutes to go, as you noted, Carson Wentz threads one down the left sideline, and a great play made by some dude they just signed named Travis Fulgham off their practice squad They take a lead at 18-14 with 5:50 to go.
That was a big play.
Yeah.
That was a huge play. That gave the Eagles confidence, and late in the game like that with the Niners, struggling so far in the game, that was a big hit. That was a definite momentum changer, and the fact that that was a nice catch too. Down the sideline, barely any space to work with, and still able to keep himself in bounds for the touchdown. Great play.
The very next play, Steven.
Yeah.
From scrimmage, a pick six.
Yeah.
And it's 25-14 Eagles.
That was horrible.
Everything you'd said about, I don't really have a lot of faith in Nick Mullins really came to fruition in the second half.
It absolutely did. And it was funny because I had tweeted out moments before that calling Mullins garbage. And one of my friends tweeted right back, "That's kind of harsh. That's kind of harsh." And then instantly went back and said, "Great." Right as I say that, he throws a pick six. And, you can't do that late in the game like that. Now, to the Niners' credit, they were able to kind of bounce back a little bit, but that pick six was that was a killer.
It really was at that point. Niners returned to the field with C.J. Beathard in as the quarterback. It gets them going against a soft Eagles defense. They're playing back at this point, up 25-14 with under 6 minutes to go here at this stage. He would get sacked as they get going into the red zone, but would hit Ayuk for a 1st and goal. And then we get just a little sample size of Beathard, so we kind of have to micro-analyze what we get here. Because then on an in-and-out route where Bourne cuts in like he's slanting, then goes out, Beathard does underthrow this a bit. Bourne has to come back for it. And then he's tackled inches short of the end zone, as again, we sort of have to analyze the sample size with Beathard. But McKinnon would punch it in, and it's 25-20 with a 2-point attempt to come.
Yeah, so as I had mentioned, that it was a good play design, I think. They would have gotten it. Kittle did drop it. It was low. But
I thought a defensive player got a piece of it maybe too, or at least of Kittle's hands. I'd have to watch it.
Yeah, it was just a low throw,
Yeah.
and Kittle, I think, was expecting kind of a high straight towards the back of the end
Yeah, I
zone,
would've
where, that's what you do with Kittle. That's his bread and butter, because he can get over any DB.
Yeah.
And, aside from that, pump fake and then run around, because the whole right side of the field was open, because Kittle was singled out to the right, and he took that DB with him. There was no safety over the top that would have gotten to Beathard to just walk that into the end zone.
You could have drove a bus through that gap right there. Just a pump fake, just stroll in, high step. That's how blatant it was. But that goes to show you the inexperience from Beathard.
Beathard could have gotten a haircut on his way into the end zone there. 'Cause that guy's got some COVID locks coming out of there. He used to be nice and clean cut. In fact, they put his graphic picture up because the picture's from a couple years ago, and he's got these like ginger locks out of the back of the helmet. I was like, whoa. I don't know this guy.
Yeah, so Beathard on this 2-pointer tries to squeeze in a slant to Kittle after a play fake that really everybody bid on, and then 2 guys follow Kittle. And like you said, it's just nothing but green space. In front of Beathard decides to throw it anyway. Doesn't work, and so they're down 5. Gould tried a drop kick, onside kick. That didn't do much. But at least it happened to 201, so they get the 2-minute warning for it.
Yeah, that's one of those kind of tricky plays. We see a lot of soccer players now coming into the NFL, and that's where that comes from, because being able to manipulate the ball with a kick. If anybody out there watches soccer, I do. I used to play, but you can actually bend the ball.
Yeah.
They made him bend it like Beckham, a movie back in the day. He was great at that. So I can understand the logic behind it. It just didn't work.
So that didn't work, and Beathard does get him moving downfield again. Great moment when an official collides with an Eagles player, and he's hurt for a moment. They have to stop the clock, saving the 49ers a down from having to spike the ball.
Yeah, I was kind of questioning the timeout usage before this drive, and this team's hurry-up offense looked really good.
Yeah.
And it's just, the commentators were saying they're gassing the defense, but I think what actually kind of bit them is they were gassing the O-line.
Yeah,
because the O-line was struggling yesterday, and then now you're putting pressure on them to hustle up to the line. I wasn't really mad at that 2-minute drive, because they were putting some good stuff together, but it just wasn't there. And they gave a good effort at the end, but they shot themselves in the foot way too much leading up to that point.
They do spike it with 17 seconds left from the 33. And this is where not converting the two-pointer really starts to hurt because they have to go for this touchdown. And McGlinchey gets beat a couple times, honestly, to create pressure, especially the last one. And then that leads to a Hail Mary not answered with the ball bouncing off some defenders, falling incomplete. So give me your overall thoughts on this game. Each of you, will start with you, Steven, and what the Niners need to do with it.
So, of course, it's disappointing for the Niners fans, but it's any given Sunday. You can't overlook any team in this league. I want to shout out 3 bright spots, and we've kind of touched on some of them already. One of them is Kittle. Kittle's back. Kittle's healthy.
Yeah.
Kittle's out there to do some damage. I love how he lowers his head and tries to get that extra yardage. Brandon Ayuk is going to be a player.
Yeah.
And to see him line up with Debo is going to cause some problems. You want to think kind of like Ricardo Lockett, the jet sweep,
Sure.
the Hill, Tyreek Hill. That kind of
Tyreek Hill, yeah.
kind of
Everything the
offense.
Rams and Cowboys wanted Tavon Austin to be, that dude, yeah.
And with these two guys, you line them up. You can even line them up both in the slot, have them crisscross the backfield. What are you going to do as a defense? Because they're both fast and they're both physical. Also, Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon did some stuff yesterday that reminded me of Frank Gore in pass protection. He cracked a linebacker that was coming up the gut that would have probably killed Nick Mulligan. And he jumped in that hole and leveled the linebacker. Like you could, fans, you could hear the pop.
Yeah.
And that's kind of reminds me of like vintage Frank Gore because he was a tank in pass protection. And to see him, he had 9 carries for 29 yards yesterday. The run game just wasn't there for the offense. And 14 runs for 54 yards. That's not great. But he was a bright spot, seeing what he can do, and he's kind of getting acclimated to the team since he hasn't really played. But those would be my 3 bright spots for the game.
Chris, your takeaways from this one, at least, looking at having their quarterback come back soon. Where do they go from here with this?
Yeah, so this is just going to be the year of adversity for the Niners. As simple as that. This is going to be a tough, gritty, next man up mentality for them because the amount of injuries they've had. Another one last night with Ziggy Ansah, and he could potentially be out for the year with a biceps injury. So if you're Kyle Shanahan, you're really taking a step back and seeing what you have. You're really counting on Garoppolo coming back hopefully next week, although he's not entirely sure if he's coming back next week. You want Mostert to come back next week. I think that's achievable too. They got the Dolphins, but then the next 5 games are tough, and that's really going to be honestly a make or break for the Niners for the season, because that's going to be the Rams, Pats, Seahawks, Packers, and Saints, and Rams and Bills. Actually, that's 7 games right there. Those are tough, and if you're playing with your second, third strings majority, you're not going to win any of those games. So that being said, the Niners are doing as much as they can do right now. Injuries are part of the game. You can't blame it solely on the injuries. Players still got to play, and that's what this is a team that was just in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
So, Shanahan's really got to, take a step back, the whole coaching staff, figure out what they have, because these next few weeks are going to be tough. They got to buckle down. Garoppolo and Mostert, like I said, those guys coming back are going to probably give them a little bit of a spark, but they just got to at least stay in the game. Stay in the game, play some good defense, and that's really that's as much as you can
At least
do.
a 500 stretch, stay above water type of thing,
Yeah, and I actually real quick want to give a shout out to 707 Solano County's own Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett's been hampered by injuries the past couple of seasons with the Niners, but they stuck with him because they saw something in him. And I've been excited to see what he can do on the field. And he's been a solid to good plus cornerback. And he's out there making tackles. He's sure tackling. And he's flying around the field. He's around every play, has a nose for the ball. And, Chris, you and I actually called his brother's baseball games at Solano. That's Isaiah Verrett. And, it's a good family. You can tell by talking to a younger brother and kind of how their disposition is. And Isaiah is almost like a seasoned MLB vet when you're interviewing. I did some post-game interviews with him, talked to him in the studio there at Solano. And he just has a good, mature head on his shoulders. So I was really kind of excited to see what his older brother Jason could do. And he's played solid for the Niners. And I think he was only going to get better and add depth to that secondary.
So the Niners do have the Dolphins up next. They hope to get, as you noted, Mostert and Garoppolo back, and that will do everything for this offense. People noted, well, they struggled running even. They struggled running. Well, if you don't have the quarterback that takes the lid off that defense a little bit to back them up, if you don't have quite that home run threat Mostert is, it changes the complexions of things quite a bit. So let's take a real quick break here on the Blitz. We'll come back going around the rest of the NFL right after this here on 89.5 FM, KZCT, OzCat Radio in Vallejo.